In the heart of an enormous emerald forest, where ancient trees stretched toward the heavens and crystal streams wound through valleys of wildflowers, there lived a magnificent young lion named Leonardo. Leonardo possessed a golden mane that shimmered like sunlight, muscles that rippled with power beneath his tawny coat, and a roar that could shake the very foundations of the forest. He was without question the strongest creature in all the woodland realm, destined by birth to become the next great king of the jungle. However, despite all his physical prowess and natural nobility, Leonardo harbored a significant flaw that tarnished his otherwise impressive character. The young prince had terrible manners. When fellow forest dwellers offered him assistance or showed him kindness, Leonardo would simply walk away without a single word of gratitude. When he accidentally knocked over a rabbit's carefully constructed burrow or trampled through a family of field mice's grain stores, he never paused to offer an apology. The phrase "thank you" seemed entirely foreign to his vocabulary, and "I'm sorry" might as well have been words from another language entirely. The other animals of the forest noticed this troubling characteristic. They whispered among themselves beneath moonlit skies and during afternoon gatherings at the watering hole. Such strength, they would murmur, but such rudeness. Still, Leonardo remained oblivious to their concerns, confident that his physical might was all that mattered in establishing his worthiness as their future sovereign. One particularly sweltering afternoon, when the sun hung heavy in the sky like a blazing medallion and the air shimmered with oppressive heat, Leonardo made his way to the largest pond in the forest to quench his considerable thirst. The water sparkled invitingly, cool and refreshing after the long, hot day. Leonardo lowered his majestic head and began to drink deeply, savouring every gulp of the life-giving liquid. Perched on a nearby branch overlooking the same pond sat a diminutive crow named Cordelia. Cordelia was a clever bird with glossy black feathers that caught the light like polished obsidian and bright, intelligent eyes that miss very little. She too had come to the pond seeking relief from the oppressive heat. In her beak, she clutched a small pebble, which she had been examining with great interest, turning it this way and that to admire its smooth surface. As fate would have it, at the precise moment Leonardo was drinking, Cordelia's grip on the pebble slipped. The small stone tumbled from her beak, plummeting downward through the air before landing with a decisive plop directly in the centre of the pond, mere inches from where Leonardo's face hovered above the water's surface. The impact created an immediate splash, sending droplets of water cascading upward in an arc that thoroughly soaked Leonardo's face, mane and whiskers. The young lion recoiled in shock and fury. Water dripped from his once dry fur as he raised his head toward the unfortunate crow above. His eyes blazed with indignation and his lips curled back to reveal rows of formidable teeth. "How dare you!" Leonardo roared with such volume that birds in distant trees took flight in alarm. "Get away from here immediately, you clumsy, insignificant pest!" Cordelia, despite her small size, possessed considerable courage. She tilted her head and regarded the angry lion with an expression mixing both fear and defiance. "It was merely an accident, great Leonardo," she called down in her clear musical voice. "I meant no disrespect or harm." "I don't care about your intentions," Leonardo bellowed, his voice echoing through the trees. "Leave this place at once before I decide to teach you a more permanent lesson about respecting your betters. You can't catch me, but I can certainly make your life miserable." Cordelia felt her small heart racing with fear. Though she wanted to explain further, to apologize more thoroughly, The rage in Leonardo's eyes convinced her that retreat was the wisest course of action. With a final, sorrowful glance at the furious feline, she spread her dark wings and flew away into the deepening shadows of the forest canopy, leaving Leonardo alone with his anger. That same evening, as twilight painted the sky in shades of purple and gold, Leonardo was prowling through a particularly dense section of the forest when disaster struck. He stepped directly onto a concealed patch of thorny brambles that he hadn't noticed in the fading light. One exceptionally large and sharp thorn drove itself deep into the tender pad of his right front paw, penetrating the tough flesh and lodging firmly within. The pain was immediate and excruciating. Leonardo let out a cry that was equal parts roar and whimper, a sound of genuine suffering that carried throughout the entire forest. He tried desperately to remove the thorn himself, biting and pulling at it with his teeth, but the angle was wrong, and each attempt only drove it deeper, causing fresh waves of agony to shoot up his leg. "Help me!" Leonardo called out into the gathering darkness, his pride momentarily forgotten in the face of his considerable pain. "Please, someone help me! I need assistance!" Many animals heard his desperate pleas. Deer paused in their evening grazing, rabbits froze at the entrance to their burrows, and squirrels stopped their chattering in the treetops above. They all heard Leonardo's cries for help echoing through their beloved forest. However, remembering his rudeness, his lack of gratitude, his complete absence of basic courtesy and kindness, not a single creature moved to assist him. They simply listened to his cries and remained where they were, unmoved by his suffering. As the night grew darker and Leonardo's hope dimmed along with the light, he heard the gentle flutter of wings approaching. Looking up through tear-blurred eyes, he saw the small silhouette of Cordelia the crow landing gracefully beside his injured paw. Despite how he had treated her earlier that very day, despite his cruel words and threatening manner, she had returned. "Please," Leonardo whispered, his voice hoarse from crying out, "please help me, little crow." Without speaking, Cordelia approached the wounded paw. She examined the embedded thorn carefully with her sharp eyes, then grasped it firmly in her beak. With steady, careful pressure she pulled. Leonardo gritted his teeth against the pain, but within moments, Cordelia had successfully extracted the entire thorn, holding it up triumphantly before casting it aside. Leonardo stared at the small crow, and for the first time in his life, he felt the heavy weight of genuine shame settling over his heart. This tiny bird, whom he had verbally attacked and threatened mere hours ago, had shown him mercy and compassion he didn't deserve. Tears welled up in his golden eyes and spilled down his furry cheeks. "I am so very sorry," Leonardo said, his voice breaking with emotion. "Thank you, dear friend. Thank you for your kindness and forgiveness. You have shown me something infinitely more valuable than this thorn removal." Cordelia smiled warmly at the repentant lion. Kind words and gentle actions heal wounds faster and more completely than anger ever could, great Leonardo. Remember this lesson well. From that transformative day forward, Leonardo became the most polite and courteous creature in the entire forest. He thanked everyone who helped him, apologized sincerely whenever he made mistakes, and treated every creature, regardless of their size or status, with genuine respect and dignity. When he eventually became king, he ruled not through fear and strength alone, but through wisdom, kindness, and impeccable manners that earned him the deep love and loyalty of all his subjects. The moral of this timeless tale remains clear. True strength without courtesy and good manners is ultimately hollow and meaningless. Kind words, Genuine gratitude and sincere apologies are what transform us from merely powerful beings into truly great ones.